They hired a big movie star, Arnold Schwarzenegger, to take my place. And we know how that turned out. The ratings went right down the tubes. It's been a total disaster. And Mark will never, ever bet against Trump again. And I want to just pray for Arnold if we can for those ratings, okay?
The applause felt a little strange because Arnold Schwarzenegger wasn't smiling yet. He had just watched Trump's latest clip, where he was fired up, talking about strength, enemies, Iran, and claiming that only he could keep America respected. Everyone in the room seemed to expect Arnold to fire back with a famous movie quote, but that's not what happened. Instead, he stood next to a simple wooden chair with one hand resting on it, staring at the screen like he was thinking about the difference between putting on a performance and actually leading. Then he quietly said, "Strong men do not need weak excuses." The whole room went silent. That was the first real blow. He didn't say it like an action star delivering a dramatic line. He said it like someone who had led a state, grown up with the lessons of authoritarian history, and understood that the loudest voices in politics can sometimes cover up the smallest acts of courage. Trump had been talking about how tough he was, but at the same time, the latest news from Iran was already making people uneasy. Reports said the United States and Iran had exchanged new missile and drone attacks even while ceasefire talks were still happening. Kuwait had condemned the Iranian strikes, and concerns over oil prices were growing because the Strait of Hormuz was still hanging over global markets.
Oh, I have a great idea. Why don't we switch jobs? You take over TV, because you're such an expert in ratings, and I take over your job. And then people can finally sleep comfortably again.
Arnold pointed at the screen and asked one simple question: if the world is this unstable, why is Trump spending so much time attacking his critics instead of explaining the plan? The audience applauded, but it was cautious, almost like everyone was thinking about the question instead of celebrating it. Then another clip played. Trump called his opponents weak, mocked reporters, and insisted that the situation with Iran proved America's strength. Arnold watched the whole thing without saying a word. When it ended, he slowly pulled the chair to the middle of the stage and sat down. And that small moment completely changed the mood. It no longer felt like he was trying to tear someone down. It felt like he wanted everyone to slow down long enough to understand the difference between confidence and real control. Then he said, "America doesn't need a leader who only looks strong when he's insulting someone. It needs a leader who can stay calm when the room is afraid, tell the truth when the news is serious, and explain what comes next without turning every question into a personal attack." That's when Trump's response became part of the story. A producer put his online reaction on the screen, filled with capital letters, claims of victory, and complaints that the media refused to give him credit. Arnold read it, looked back at the audience, and said, "If every headline makes you flex, maybe you're not strong, maybe you're just sore." The room instantly erupted.
Our intelligence community, our justice system, and worst of all, our country. You're the president of the United States, you shouldn't do that. I mean, what's the matter with you? I mean, whatever happened to the strong words or to the strength of Ronald Reagan when he stood there at the Berlin Wall and he said, "Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall"? What happened to all that?
Arnold didn't chase the laughter. Instead, he turned straight to the Iran issue. He said, "Talking about war isn't entertainment. Drone attacks aren't campaign slogans. Families living near military bases, sailors in the Gulf, workers dealing with higher fuel prices, and older Americans watching their retirement savings rise and fall with the oil market don't need chest thumping. They need steady leadership. They need clear information. They need a president who understands the difference between showing strength and creating more danger. And they need America's allies to believe that the country's words still mean something when the region is on edge." The applause slowly faded into silence. Arnold reminded everyone that real strength comes from restraint, and he said that was a lesson he learned from history, not from a movie script. He added that people who worship power often mistake fear for respect. They think others are loyal because they're loud, when in reality people stay quiet because they're worried. "A democracy," he said, "should never confuse one man's temper with a nation's courage." Then came the line that completely shattered Trump's image. Arnold stood up from the chair, turned toward Trump's frozen image on the screen, and said, "You're not leading the free world if the free world is checking your mood before breakfast." For a moment, nobody moved. Then the audience got to its feet. That line landed because it pulled everything together: the tension with Iran, the angry online posts, the attacks on critics, the constant need to look dominant, and the uncertainty that everyone could already feel. Trump wanted the story to be about how tough he was.
President Trump, I just saw your press conference with President Putin, and it was embarrassing. I mean, you stood there like a little wet noodle, like a little fanboy. I mean, I was asking myself, when are you going to ask him for an autograph or for a selfie or something like that? I mean, you literally sold out at this press conference.
Arnold shifted the focus away from Trump's image and onto something much bigger, whether people could actually trust his judgment when the world was on edge. One final screen showed two pictures side by side. On one side were the latest headlines about Iran, negotiations, attacks, Kuwait, the Strait of Hormuz, and growing concerns over nuclear claims. On the other were Trump's angry online posts and personal attacks. Arnold didn't have to explain what everyone was already seeing. The contrast spoke for itself. He simply said, "The world is watching more than missiles and meetings. It's watching temperament. Our allies are watching. Our enemies are watching. The markets are watching. Families are watching." Then he added that when the leader of the world's most powerful country seems more hurt by jokes than concerned about the consequences of a crisis, the image of strength starts to fall apart. By the end, Trump's anger looked less like confidence and more like panic wrapped in patriotism. Arnold never tried to overpower him with louder words. Instead, he challenged the idea itself by asking whether strength without discipline is really strength at all. The audience had come expecting a clash between two famous personalities, but they left thinking about something much more important. If someone loses control every time they're challenged, what happens when the challenge isn't a comedian or a political opponent, but a real crisis? That question lingered in the room long after the applause had finally faded.